Okay, I forgot to check the sound this time, and I don't know why every single time it changes it in the settings and turns it off. It's so stupid. Thanks, Julie, for letting me know that the sound is not on. So I'll go back and go through what we were doing, or what I was doing. We were looking up the Countless Trees. This is a reversible set, which means you can use the front of the set and you can use the back of this, not this like the whole set, but like the stamp. You can use the front side of the stamp and you can use the background of the stamp. And so, thanks, Julie. And so, you know, like the back side, what would normally be the side that sticks to the block, would be your, I want to say blob, but it's not blob, but like your non-detailed aspect of the image, and then the front side of the stamp, or the normal side that you normally stamp, would be like your detail. And so it'll make more sense as I stamp the cards today. So but that's what, if you go through the catalogs, or if you're online shopping, that's what the reversible means, is you can flip the stamp over and use the back and the front side of it, which actually is kind of cool because it gives you more bang for your buck that way. I personally think that works really well when they're symmetrical, meaning like it's the same on the left it is the right, and so when you flip it over it makes sense. There's some flowers that we've had before, and maybe this is my perfectionism, but I would flip the stamp over and it would just be off enough with the flower that I'd be really annoyed by it. And that's totally a personal problem. That's not a problem with the stamp set. It's me. It's something I have to get over. And perhaps I should seek therapy for. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, so this is the stamp set that we're going to be using today. So let's go switch over back to my desk so you can see what you're doing. And let's go here. I'm so excited that I can actually see comments. I know I didn't get the sound working right away, but at least the comments are working. You know, you can always just tune in for a good laugh at how I bumble everything up with this stuff. So, alright, let's pull out the stamp set. I have my little basket here. I'll pull this on my desk. Got everything gathered together. And I love these little pockets because so let's make this first one. And this, I'm going to put all the details about like the sizes and everything for these cards on my website eventually. I'm going to make it into an online class. So if you are a club member, a stamp club member, you or even a team member, you're on my team, you'll have free access to this video. I'll break it up per card, and then you'll also have access to the details of, you know, like the sizes of everything, and step-by-step instructions and stuff. So here is the first card that we're gonna make. I'm gonna scoot over just a little bit, move my camera. I have to move, the camera is right on the edge of my desk, and I don't like the camera attached to my desk, because then you just feel like you're at a construction zone with someone with a jackhammer, and the table's just, I don't know, it makes me crazy. I don't know, it makes you crazy. But anyway, so this is the card that we're going to be making, and I don't have the greeting on it yet because I wanted to talk a little bit about that. So let's get to that point throughout here. So this is where you can kind of see where the reversible part comes handy. And I have some pale papaya, and just to save time, I've already embossed this one. You can see I'm doing two different backgrounds, and I'm doing that because this way you can kind of choose at home what you have on hand. You don't have to buy something new if you don't want to. This is just the dots. Oh shoot, I don't remember what it was called. Let's look it up on search, find, create. It's like the dots, I don't know, like dots die. Let's see if it'll come up under that. Oh, here it is. Yeah. Dots and spots die. See, this is why search, find, create is great, because so the dots and spots die is what that is. So that's the one that I used for this first one, and just raised it up. And then this one is the greenery one. I love this one. You know, this one is going to be a hard one for me to let go because I use it a lot. It just makes this nice little stitches in the background, and it's really nice texture. I just really like it. So for the moment, let's go ahead and focus on the little topiaries here. And I've just got 3 pieces of basic white. And I'm going to show you some tips here on how to get your topiary to, like, there's an order of operation I found that kind of makes it a little bit easy to get this to work. And so, and there's some tiny pieces in here. You can put your stamps onto the case if you want to. I've done it a couple times. It just, to me, it just seems like, because the cases aren't like airtight, I mean, why would they be? And I don't know, I think it's because these little plastic covers the front and the back of the stamp. I feel like they stick better, because I feel like dust gets in here and then I have to like wash the stamp. So if you ever have a stamp that's not sticking, wash it with just warm soapy water, rinse it really good, and just let it air dry, and it should grab again. It should be sticky enough. So the pieces that we're going to be needing are these little topiary pieces, and we're going to need these little tiny pieces right here, but I don't want to take them off just yet because they are very small and I don't want to lose them. So let's grab a couple blocks. Grab this one. Let's grab a couple here. Okay. So like I said, there's an order of operation here to make the spacing on these correct. And it's not a bad idea to have a piece of scrap paper. Let's grab one of my Stamparatus mats here. So you want to make the spacing between these 2 little stamps match these 2 little parts right here, which are these dark spots right here. And so the spacing on that is really kind of important. So now I've got to try to remember how I did it. I'm not a very good person on the spot. When I'm put on the spot with things, I draw a complete blank. When the teacher would call me in class, she'd be like, okay, what's the answer? I'd be like, I don't know, come back to me in a few minutes. And my youngest son is kind of the same. He's very smart. I'm not saying that I am, but he is. And so his one teacher, she was really good about saying, I'm going to ask you this question, and I'll come back to you in a minute. And she would go off, and then she'd come back, and he was totally fine. And I was like, man, I wish my teachers would do that for me, because I would have looked so dumb all the time. So anyway, okay, so spacing, we want to get our spacing correct. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this first little one, and we're going to put this on our block. And basically you need to space it around this big one right here. So now this may seem like a lot, I'm taking it slow, but you could probably do this a lot faster than I could. So there's my little bottom part, and I'm going to put my big one. This is the bigger of the 2 topiary pieces. I'm going to grab some soft succulent green here. And my stamp. So you're basically setting these up at the same time. And what's nice about this, and I don't care that it didn't stamp all the way because this is just a sample. So now that we have that, I'm going to hold this over the top. Kind of take a look. It looks good. So now I'm going to take this other small one right here. I'm just going to put it right there. You could also do this with the Stamparatus, but if you don't have it or a stamp positioner, it's not a problem. These photopolymers like to stick to your fingers. There we go. And I can always straighten that out once it's on the block. We're just interested in spacing. So now I'm going to pretend like I'm stamping, so I'm going to line up this bottom one right here. And just grab that one. So now I have them both grabbed, but see how this one's a little crooked? I'm just going to straighten out the top. Now that it's a little stuck to the block, it won't stick to my finger as bad. It's over just a little bit. There we go. So if I were to stamp this, if I hold it up like that, it looks great. So now we can put this one here. I know this may seem like it's a lot of trouble, but, and there's probably, someone else could probably come up with an easier way to do this, but I'm the type of person, like if I want to set this up to do several cards at once, which we have several, we're going to stamp 3. So when I did it yesterday without having to explain it, it went pretty fast, so I wouldn't stress over it too much. Okay, let's grab this. We'll just put this on the end of this block right here. Alright, so now we're set up. That's all we have to do. So let's grab our 3 pieces here, and you're gonna see how it's worth doing it because it goes really fast. So we have 3 pieces, and we're gonna do papaya at the bottom. And I recommend stamping the bottom first. That way you don't put these in the wrong position and then you either run out of room or you have too much space going and one up either the top or the bottom. So I'm going to go through and stamp each one of these along the bottom, just like that. And then the next thing that you're going to stamp is going to be your twigs, branches, trunks, whatever. I don't know if it's really called a trunk. It's not very big on a lot of topiaries. You can see how now you know you have them perfectly spaced, and you'll waste less paper. And now we can go through and do the leaf parts, just like that. So you can see I think it's worth it, but if you have an easier way, by all means, don't keep it to yourself. You know, you can share it. Okay, so now that those are done, let's do the step 2. We don't need to do our branches because there's no need to turn that over. There's no detail in that for that one. So you always want to make sure that you clean and dry it. So let me grab a mat. We need to get the ink off of this side. So wash and dry. Put it through your washer and dryer, your stamp washer and dryer. Wash. No spin needed, right? So now this is the pot, the flower pot. We're just going to take that and we're going to flip it over, and now we're using the back side of that. And that is a little wet on that. Sometimes if you run it through make sure that the block is dry so it sticks. We're just going to use our jeans because they're easy and I'm lazy. There we go. And so we're going to do the same thing. Now, the trick to this though, these are dry, but if I move them I might be off. So this is what you're going to do, is you're going to use one of these as your guide, set it down with the detail part up or basically backwards, put them over one of the ones that you've already stamped and pick them up. Pick them up with the block, and now this is actually the back side of the stamp. We're going to need our scrap paper because we want to stamp off. Now this, it doesn't matter what order you put it in because we've already stamped it, so we can use these as our guide. And you just stamp right over the top, and now you have this beautiful little green background that adds some visual interest to your topiaries. There's that. And you could use a different color if you wanted to. I could have done like maybe evening evergreen for the little leaves. Just kind of up to you what you want to do. Stamp that off a little bit to get the color off. And then now let's do our pots here. I will be stamping this off just a little bit too. And because these are photopolymer, makes it really super easy to line these up. If it was red rubber, it'd be a little more difficult, and I personally would probably use a Stamparatus. It's harder to tell on the pale papaya, but you can kind of see it in there. So you can kind of see the tree. I'll hold my hand still here. You can see it focus. Kind of cute. Very fun and easy to do. I think this is like one of the reversible sets, one of the first ones that I really, really have liked. Other ones are just, like I said, I think they just didn't, I don't mind it being off a little bit, but when it's really off a lot, I don't know, I I get annoyed again, my problem. So, alright, so now that we have all of our trees done, let's move ink pads out of the way, because if we don't, I will put my hand in it and get it everywhere. Get these out of the way. So now we can start putting this card together. And so this is what we're going to do. I have this long piece here, and you'll notice here that it's folded over. So I'm going to first put my topiaries on here. Get some tape. Thanks, Julie. It's a cute little set, easy set to use. So I'm just making sure that the 3 sides here are even, and that'll get me started. Normally, if I had 3 to do across, I would start in the middle, but we're folding this over. So if I start in the middle, then I'm going to wind up having a piece that's all the way across, and I won't have any room for folding. So, and I'm doing this with my glasses on, which I should have bifocals, but I don't. I'm still fighting that. Who knows, maybe someday. So now we have this over here. So I'm going to grab my paper cutter. And I lost my little, whatchamacallit here. When I moved from my other studio to this one, I lost it. I have no idea where it went. And I've never replaced it because I'm like, well, I can just use my phone folder. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm just lining this up with one of the ridges here. That looks good enough. I'm just going to do that. So now that will fold over. And then I'm going to put another one here about halfway. This kind of gives me a place to stop, I guess you could say, or roll it over. I just want to make sure that I don't fold it over too far. This kind of gives me a place to stop, and then we're just going to use our bone folder to good and crease that. And then we're going to put some string underneath that, if we can find it, in my basket. We're just going to use some linen thread. I'm going to tuck this under here first. I'm going to wrap it around twice. It's actually under here, but if you wanted to, you could just go behind the whole thing. It's kind of up to you. There's a ways around anything, really. You can just make it work for you. I mean, that's one of the nice things about being creative is, yeah, there's some rules, but you can break them. There is a time to break rules with being creative. Rules give you a place to start, and then you just kind of bounce off from there. I know, it's kind of like the Pirates of the Caribbean saying, they're just guidelines, really. So I'm just tying a bow. Put my thumb down to kind of hold it so it doesn't come completely unraveled on me. And once you have it the way you want, trim that off. My thing rolled. Good thing I don't have a cat at this studio. He would have taken off with my linen thread already. Watson would have way too much fun with that. Okay, the next thing I want to do is I want to put some glue dots under there. See if I can find those. Nope, that's not the tape I'm looking for. Let's grab my piercer tool. These are great for grabbing glue dots off. And I'm just going to tuck these underneath this little tab right here. That'll keep my string from coming off, and it'll keep this little section, this little tab thing closed. You know, and if you want, you could just skip it. You could just have it be straight, no fold whatsoever. And just tie a string around it if you want. Totally, you could change it. By all means, change it. Because when you're changing things, you're being creative. And that's always a good thing. Okay, stick some seal back here. I'm going to put this about here, I think. May not be perfectly straight, but we'll go with it. Okay, so I have some foam adhesive sheet here, and that's because I don't want to put like 8 bazillion dimensionals, as much as I love them. This saves a lot of time, actually. I love these foam adhesive sheets. So you can just peel that off, cut that down to what you need. Has a nice, good, solid, won't collapse as bad, or is anybody sent them through the mail and it looks like all lumpy? Just loses its wow factor. Okay, once you have that. And then when I was making this card, I was struggling a little bit, like where do I put the greeting? It just, and one little tip with that is if you find that it's just not vibing for you and you're just struggling coming up with like, where is this greeting gonna go? And you've played around with it and played around with it, sometimes it's time to just set it down and come back to it later. Come back to it an hour later, come back to it the next day. Give your brain some time to just do something else and come back and then just kind of look at it with fresh eyes. And it definitely needs a greeting on there, I think, or something. I guess you could leave it if you wanted to just have it be plain. But before I put that greeting on, I'm just going to add some Wink of Stella, just so my topiaries have a nice little shine to them. Another little tool that I don't know that you could really go wrong with is some Wink of Stella. Okay. So what I've done here is I've got this thank you so much. This is from the, let me see, I think I still have it in the box here. I might not. It's still out though. Inspired Thoughts. It's from the Inspired Thoughts. And I'm just going to put this, and here's where you can just like, you can look and say, okay, do I like it down here? Does it look good there? It actually doesn't look too bad. You can put it up here. Just like that. Maybe put a couple gems on there. And all I did was just trim the end. You can use a punch if you want to, which we'll use the punch later. I just cut down the middle and then come in from each side is all I do. And then you can kind of decide, you know, do I like it at the bottom or do I like it at the top? I think it looks okay either way, but you can kind of compare and see how you like it. So that is the topiary card. Just a couple different ideas, and if you don't have one of these folders or you want to try something different, I think you don't even have to do a die. You could just do a folder if you wanted to, something with some good texture on it, some words or whatever. Just try some different things and see what looks good to you. I mean, that's a good way to do it. All right, let's move on to the next one. But I do like how these turned out. I love the pale papaya. I think it doesn't show up the best on the camera, but it's a nice, like, soft peachy color. I really do like that. All right. This next card, the happy birthday card, just a nice, simple card again. I get in these moods where I just like simple and easy cards. Once in a while I feel like kind of artsy and I'll do something complicated. Ahead of time, what I've done is I've used the Whimsy die and I've just die cut this square right here, and that's just to add some texture to the background since we're keeping it rather plain, but it does draw your attention over to our trees right here. So let's go ahead and stamp our trees. We're going to pull out this one. Now if you want, you can go ahead and do where you flip it over. I'm not going to do it with this one because I like the way it looked already. But you definitely could flip this one over and do a different shade or a different color. And I used evergreen on this one. And crumb cake. This would make a great background. Ooh, you know, I was just thinking too, this one with the Stamparatus where you turn your cardstock like a quarter turn. This would be a fun shape to do that with, I think. So I'm just going to stamp this on my little piece of basic white. And it'll look a little odd because I'm making them very spaced out, but we have one that we're going to cut and then cut out, so I want to leave space for that. And then we need our tree trunk. There's a couple different tree trunks in here. I could just reuse the ones that I did, but I'm just going to pick out this small one right here. Make sure nothing falls out. I'm just going to flip this over. This works good if you only have like a couple blocks. And let's just so we don't get ink smeared on everything. What I liked about this stamp set too is that it was pretty easy to just chuck together stuff. It was easy to line up, it was easy to stamp. We'll do another tree here. Not hard to line up at all, which is really nice. Alright, put our ink pads away. And it's not too hard to hand cut out because there isn't any crazy twists and turns that you need to do, other than I'm not wearing my glasses, so we'll see. We'll see how this turns out. No judging, okay? You always turn your cardstock instead of your scissors. That helps get you a more smooth look when you're cutting. See how easy that was? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So then we're going to take some dimensionals, or I have some little scraps of, I use all my foam tape if I can. So I had these little scraps left over from another project. I threw them in this basket because I knew they'd come in handy. But literally just leftover scraps from my foam so that nothing goes to waste. And that's just going to get put right there. And so our little art piece is all done. So let's go ahead and work on the card base. And I want to put this early espresso line here. It kind of ties the background in and leads your eye across, so you'll see the greeting. And any greeting will work. I will say that a greeting that's vertical across works the best. I've got this go-to greetings, and I just pulled this little happy birthday out. So let's pull that out. And this is one, like, if you're really worried about it being straight, Stamparatus is probably a good way to go. I'm going to live on the edge today and just wing it. We are going to wash and dry this because I want this block. And if you got this tiny little stamp, just don't press very hard. Otherwise it will come right off. If you're not ready to put it completely away, like I don't want to take the time to do that at the moment. Be careful of things sticking. I've lost a couple stamps forgetting that they're on there and they've been picked up. So if you're looking for a stamp, look on the back of things too, because it might have gotten picked up off your desk somehow. Of course, it could have just been me. So okay, so we're going to use this as kind of a guide of where we want our greeting to go. And you'll notice our greeting is kind of up and down. It's a little nuts, so ignore that bottom like boundary right there and just pay attention to your words. Work on that. Just pay attention to your words. And that way I think you'll end up getting it more straight. Again, stamp radius is probably the guarantee, right? I'm not pressing super hard. I'm just pressing just enough to make sure it's fully on there and letting the paper pull that off. And the reason you don't want to push super hard, let me give you an example. This is a very nice little delicate happy birthday. So if I press super hard with that, I want you to see the difference of why it's really not about how hard you press. It's good even pressure. You can see how it's kind of splooshed out a little bit. This left side is a little more detailed like it should be. So there's an idea for you. It's like if you're having problems with your detail words, they always seem to be splooshed out. That could be why. It could be because you're pressing too hard. That's what your mats are for. Use your mats to practice stamping. There's nothing wrong with practicing when you're stamping. It's not hard to do. I like it way better than working out. So you're not usually out of breath when you're practicing stamping. If you are, then I'm a little worried about you. But use your mats to practice. Use a scrap piece of paper. It'll save you some frustration, really, honestly. So now that we have our happy birthday stamped, we're going to go straight across. And this is 5.5 inches, so it's like that. It's a little crooked, but I'm okay with it. And then let's get our string. If I remember where I put that at, I did throw it back in here. I use baskets for everything. If I keep everything in a basket, it won't roll off my desk. We're going to wrap this around. If they ever get rid of linen thread, it'd be a very sad day. Because I like threads. I like the baker's twines. I like the texture that they add to the card. And so I'm just feeding the one string under, just because I'm going to tie it in a knot, because that'll keep it still for me, so I can kind of adjust it. I probably should have given myself a little longer tail there, but you could do just a knot if you want to. If you're not a bow person, that's totally fine. Just get it to be the size that you want, trim it off. And then the last thing that we need to do is add our little trees. So I'm going to pop those up, and I did have some leftover foam tape, so might as well just use it up, right? So I'm going to push it out just a little bit. Make it a little bit smaller. If you don't want to do this, you could just do it flat. It'd be totally fine. I just like dimensionals. It's kind of a sickness, I know. So this is going to go right over the top. And it'll also hold that string down too so it doesn't slide. So there is our little... Now these almost remind me of Christmas trees. So if you wanted to, you could totally turn this into a Christmas card. You could add maybe like a strip of cherry cobbler here, because crumb cake and cherry cobbler go really well together. And then you could do your Christmas trees, and then just do like happy holidays, season greetings, something like that. You could these would be very simple and easy Christmas cards to do, holiday cards. That'd be really nice. So, all right. Just checking, making sure I'm reading all the comments here, catching up on them. Oh, me too, Julie. I have to remember that too. I have messed up a lot of stuff. And not pressing too hard on your ink pad too, which I really had a hard time with that when we switched over to these firm foam ones, I was used to the linen tops, and the linen tops you do have to press kind of hard to get the ink on there. Not so with the firm foam. So yeah, it took me a bit. So this is our happy birthday card with our little pine trees, little evergreens. Very cool. I like this card. This makes a very good birthday card. All right, so our last card that we have is our little coconut tree. Let me show you this. This one, I think, out of all three, this one might be my favorite. I don't know. I just think it's super cute. It could be because I'm like way ready to be on a beach somewhere. I know it's been so hot, but frankly, if it's going to be this hot, really, it's just more worth it if you're on a beach, right? In the under a coconut tree, with no coconuts though, because my like one would fall out and hopefully not hit me in the head. But anyways, so we're going to create this card, and what I've got here is I've just used up some of my scraps. These are just a 1/2 inch by 3, and again, this will all be listed on my website in the next week or so. I'll get this edited and put up, and I'll put a sheet up there. And it's just crumb cake, early espresso, and soft suede. And just a bunch of strips, just using up some scraps is all I'm doing. And that's how I created this little piece right here. It kind of reminds me of, I don't know if I'd say shiplap, but kind of like a boardwalk, or you know, just wood planks and type of thing. And I thought it fit really well with kind of a tropical theme. So let's go ahead and create this card ahead of time, just to save some time. I went ahead and embossed this. Now you could emboss it again with anything. Waves, I've got waves here. You could do, oh goodness, you could do leaves, just anything that you think looks cool in the background, whatever you want to do. So there isn't anything special I'm doing to this, so I'm going to go ahead and just add it to my soft succulent card base. And this card base opens up like this, but you could do it the other way too and it'd be fine. This card isn't ruined if you change the direction. And the reason I say that is if you're like me, sometimes you'll cut a sheet of paper in half to get a card base and you have this other half. Well, I'll fold it, and I have a little stash. Let me show you. I have a little stash of card bases, so if I need a card base, I'm just maybe doing a one-off card or something, I have this little basket, and so then I don't waste pulling out another sheet of paper, right? So these are all my card bases. I found these still have to be folded. I must have just found those. So yeah, that's what I do. It just makes it faster. If you just whip up a card really fast. So this piece, we're just going to set it off to the side, and we'll work with that later. So let's work on the stamping part. We're going to do our coconut tree. I'm a big fan of coconut trees. I love coconut water. My favorite is coconut water with the pineapple. If you haven't tried that, it's pretty good. I also really like, I love using coconut milk and coconut sugar. Maybe I was just meant to go to an island, a tropical place, and spend enormous amounts of time there. Who knows? Okay, we're just putting our pieces back so I don't lose them. So this is how I put them back. I just hold the piece over the top of it. We're going to need this piece too, and we're going to need this piece too, and I'm going to stick them to my block so I don't lose them. That's actually the best way to do that. It's a good habit to be in, to make sure you stick them down to a block or something that you won't lose them. I think that's all I need. Granted, I could use this piece right here. Technically, I mean, yes, that looks like a coconut top, but I really liked how big this one was, so if it bugs you, I'm sorry, but I'm still going to use it anyway. You can use whatever image you want to use. It's all you. Okay, so we're going to take this and I'm going to flip it with the right side down, right onto my block, just like this. The tree piece, I don't need to worry about doing that. We're not going to flip that over. And then I have this stripey piece. That's what puts these little stripes on my coconut tree. I'm going to put that on this block. Just like that. If you're worried about it being twisted or turned, maybe, lay it down on your mat. Let the photopolymer kind of reshape itself into its original form, and then pick it up with your block. We're going to wash this happy birthday and put this back. So normally if this was like an online class, I would edit this out. But we're live. So this is proof that I do wash my stamps and put them back. I do try to do that. Because if I don't, I will lose them. Alright. So let's go ahead and work on this one, and we're going to pull out our soft succulent again. And remember, this has got the back side facing up, so we're going to want to stamp this off to give it a lighter color. Again, you could just do it regular and then go a darker color, but this is a great way to get two colors out of one ink pad, really. So we're going to stamp it off, just like that. And then I'm going to stamp it kind of towards the top. And the longer you leave it on the paper, the more ink it's going to soak up, and the more evenly that ink is going to get soaked on there. So you have this nice little, okay, I just have to say this, but when I look at this just like that, I think of Bob Marley. I have no idea why. I'm thinking of Bob Marley now. It looks like his hair. But anyway, so we're going to wash and dry this. You never know. Art is really just shapes, and somebody tells you what they are. Really, that's all it is. I'm telling you. We're going to turn Bob Marley's hair into a coconut tree. Okay, so now I've washed it and dried it, and I've turned it over. And I'm going to ink it back up, but this time I'm not going to stamp it off because I want the full shade, the full hue, and I'm just going to go right over the top, and with these photopolymers it makes it nice and easy to do that. Give it a chance to soak off the ink, and then we're going to need, we're going to kind of do the same thing with our early espresso. So we have this nice little leaf now. Let's get rid of that so I don't end up putting my hand in it. So what I want to do with the tree is kind of similar in that I'm going to stamp off the tree trunk to lighten it. That way we can see our details. Straight down and straight up. And this is pretty easy because you can kind of see the areas where you need your tree to go into. That was one of the things I really liked about this set. It is really easy to line up. It makes it really easy. And you kind of see that. Now it's a shade lighter, which is what we want. So now we're going to take these little stripy things. I'm going to turn it off the side because it makes it easier for me to see. And we're just going to stamp the stripes right over the top. But you'll notice we didn't stamp off because we want that full espresso color. And you can see we have these nice little stripes. Our little coconut tree is really shaping up. Alright. So the next thing I want to do is layer this onto my piece of soft succulent. Just like this. And we're going to layer like that. So the next step would be to add all of our little pieces. This one right here is actually for our greeting, so we won't worry about that right now. Alright. Up to you if you want to do it random or if you want to make it in a particular order. I'm kind of an order girl, so one thing that you can do is kind of line them up in the order that you want them to go. So I'll just do this so I can grab them. Now if you do it in the same size that I do, you'll notice on the card there's a little bit up here and there's a little bit here. So here's, I think what a good tip would be is to not put a ton of tape on the back of this, because if you don't put a lot of tape on it, you can reposition it. If you use liquid glue, you can do that. Problem is, you're doing this, so if you need to move it up, you might be able to see a little bit of that liquid glue. Let's play around with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a strip like this and just go straight down. And then I'm going to take my first one, and I'm using my mat to try to get it as straight as possible, because the straighter you get it, then the straighter it'll look as it goes down the line here. So I'm going to turn it over, and I just have my strip of tape right here. So now it's just a matter of putting these right up against each other. This is a great way to use up scraps, by the way. And if you don't want to use up cardstock scraps, by all means you could use some DSP. If you have some textured stuff or something with a textured background look to it, whatever you want to do. You can even make your strips a little bit larger on your card so that more of the pattern of the DSP shows. Really up to you. Okay, I thought I might run out. I did cut an extra just in case. So now we have this in the back. Let's take a look, see how even it is. It's not too bad. That's a little crooked, but I think I'm going to roll with it. So then, now this isn't super secure, but that's where I've still got some of that foam adhesive left. So I can kind of put this on the back. And if you want to use dimensionals, or if you have some more scraps of foam adhesive, I think I have another little scrap in here. Yeah. We'll tuck some of my scraps just back in the packaging. Let's have some here, so let's just do a strip. Make sure it fits back there and it's not going to hang over. That would be embarrassing to have your foam showing. I don't think high society allows that. Alright, so now that we have our little planks done, we're going to add that to our card front now. I'm just going to put that about the center. Okay, and then we have this section here, which is going to be our greeting. And the stamp set that I used, and I don't remember the name, but I do have it out, is the Charming Sentiments one. It's the one with all of the dies that match the wording. I think I have it out already. So I used it for a class recently, so I already have it set up in here. And well, I had it on here. I might have taken it. Let me see if I put it back in the block. I may have put it back in here. Oh, I did put it back in here. Okay. It's photopolymer, so I don't think I really need to worry about using a Stamparatus. In this instance, we're not die cutting it out, so take that off, put that on the block. So this is starting to feel like a little dusty on the back, so I will probably be just gently washing it in some warm soapy water and rinse it, and then I'll let it air dry and it'll stick just fine. Alright, so we've got some early espresso. This says, wishing you the happiest of birthdays. We'll go about the middle because we're going to punch both sides. Again, firm pressure. Give your paper a chance to soak up the ink. That's how you get a nice, good, crisp image most of the time, is just not how hard you press. Good for pressure, but not how hard. Just giving it a chance to soak up. So we're going to use my banner punch. Love this punch. And I think it's 1 inch, so it makes it really easy to just push it in there. It'll be pretty even. You've got your guides on the sides here. There we go. And we'll put this right at the bottom of our tree. Couple things that this does is, number one is it kind of cuts down on like the negative space, meaning there's nothing in there, so it doesn't look so bland. The other thing is it grounds my tree. It sounds weird. The tree's not in trouble. It just makes it to where the tree has a base. It has a foundation, and it kind of grounds it. It's not floating in the air. So the last step for this one, and I'll just warn you, I might sneeze because I have to sneeze. Hold on. Excuse me. I'm going to use these rustic metallic dots, and these are going to be, these represent the coconuts. I'm just going to put those kind of close together. Ta-da! Super fun card. I like this card. It's just a cute card. I think this makes a great masculine card too. It's not all bland black and white or just all browns. It's got some green color to it. It's kind of fun. And who knows, the person you give it to, they might like to be on a beach too. Who knows? Or go boating. Something tropical. Of course, you can always add some Wink of Stella to it if you want to. Kind of up to you. So here is just a review of the 3 cards that we made today. A couple things. I am so close. I have a ton of stuff in the queue to being caught up on all of my classes from last year. You will definitely hear me happy dancing when that is all done. But those of you who are club members or team members, you'll be seeing like a bunch. There's so much in the queue right now. I'm just editing documents and a couple videos, and we'll be caught up. But I want to make sure they publish in a specific order. That way when you pull it up, it pulls it up chronologically. I just want to make sure. Again, it's just that whole perfectionism thing. But you'll be seeing those soon, and it'll be really awesome. Lots of ideas on there. As far as this will also be published on YouTube. This I'm going to edit just a little bit, and it'll be published on YouTube. I'm going to start publishing videos there again, and I'm super excited about it because the Search, Find, Create app that my son and I created is making it possible for me to start doing this stuff again. We've had some great subscriptions. Things are going well, and you know, it's kind of like some people do Patreon, but we're doing Search, Find, Create. So feel free to check that out if you don't know what that is. It's a great app. I even show you a little bit. It's a great app on how you can keep track of your stamps and your crafting supplies. You can do a search to find your stuff, and you can even track your items here with your inventory, and you can even create a wish list, which is kind of cool. I've been going through, and what was really interesting is I did a search by, I think I went in and just typed in like 22 23 because I wanted to see what was released in the annual catalog. That's how you can search for it. And I actually was finding things like, hey, I didn't see that in the catalog. Hey, I want that. I'm sure you guys say that too. Like I forgot that I'd seen this one. So if I want to add it to my inventory, I can click the plus sign. If I want to add it to, let me shrink this down just a little bit. If you want to add this to your wish list, you can just click the star, and then now it's on your wish list. And so as you accumulate things, you can take it right from your wish list right to your inventory, and it makes it really nice because it just makes it so much easier to find things. When I want to go find what I need to find, do I have this? It also makes it easier to, my internet here gets a little slow sometimes. It makes it so much easier to find what I'm looking for, so I can get back to the project that I need to get done. So just something to think about. So that is the Search, Find, Create app. And once you're signed in and signed up, you can start tracking all of your stuff, start putting it in here, and then you can find what you're looking for too. It makes it a lot easier. So I want to thank all of our subscribers of Search, Find, Create. You guys make it easy for me to be able to keep doing this, and I love doing this. So, and thank you for joining me. Shout out to Julie. Thanks for joining me. And I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.